Hello guys. Welcome to MK Recaps. Today, we will be explaining a movie called World War Z. The zombies in this movie are at the king level in terms of their abilities. They possess both agile speed and powerful attack strength, and the sheer number of zombies is incredible. Simply seeing them is enough to send shivers down one's spine. In a post-apocalyptic world like this, the story begins on a busy street in Philadelphia, where Pete and his family are attempting to leave but are hindered by traffic. As they listen to a news report on the radio about the uncontrollable outbreak of rabies in 12 countries around the world, Pete becomes fascinated. Suddenly, a motorcycle whizzes by and scrapes off. As Pete attempted to get out of his car to argue with the driver of another vehicle, the driver had already disappeared, and a violent explosion occurred in the distance, causing chaos on the once quiet street. But suddenly, a speeding truck hit Pete. As a UN investigator, Pete recognized the danger and quickly accelerated his car to follow the runaway truck and escape the area. However, a fire truck suddenly appeared, causing a two-car collision. Fortunately, Pete's family was not seriously injured. At the same time, the zombie virus began to spread massively, quickly turning the entire city of Philadelphia into a living nightmare. The zombies were fast and agile, and they attacked humans without hesitation as they blended in with the crowd. Survival is almost impossible when facing these targeted zombies, as they can mutate at an alarmingly fast rate. It only takes 12 seconds to turn into a zombie after being bitten. In a state of panic, Pete managed to find an RV and fled Philadelphia with his family, but the city fell to the zombie outbreak within a matter of minutes. He drove to the outskirts of the city and temporarily escaped the zombie attack. Shortly after, Eric, a top UN official, called and promised to send a helicopter to pick up Pete within an hour, as the organization needed him urgently. However, Pete's daughter suffered an asthma attack, so they had to go to the store to get medicine. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, the family had to split up. Pete was in charge of getting the medicine while his wife went to get food. However, when he came out of the pharmacy, he saw two criminals robbing his wife. Pete took swift action and shot one of the robbers without saying a word, causing the other one to flee. However, when they came out of the store, they discovered that the RV had already been driven away. Pete immediately contacted Eric to explain the situation, but Eric informed him that the helicopter might not arrive until the following morning. With no other options, Pete took his family to a nearby apartment building for shelter. They managed to escape the zombies and were taken in by a Mexican family living upstairs. As dawn approached, Pete suggested that they leave together, but the family declined. Respecting their wishes, Pete prepared equipment to fight the zombies. However, the gunfire attracted more zombies, and they were forced to flee to the rooftop. Despite their efforts, they could not outrun the zombies, who were gaining on them rapidly. Pete had to move quickly as a zombie attacked him from behind, but he was saved at the last minute when someone shot the zombie, who turned out to be a child from a Mexican family. As they had been attacked by zombies who killed everyone except the child. The family had made it to the rooftop and set off a flare to signal for help, which was when the helicopter arrived. When Pete got to the rooftop, he counted from 1 to 12 as a precaution because he had gotten blood splattered in his mouth during the fight with the zombies. However, the zombies were also closing in, so Pete had to block the door and let others go first before making a run for the helicopter under cover from the soldiers' fire. After being rescued, the helicopter landed on an aircraft carrier at sea, which was the safest place to be for the time being. However, the situation was much more serious than Pete had anticipated. They referred to the infected people as zombies, but they had lost contact with them. To prevent the disaster from getting worse, the Supreme Commander requested that Pete lead a team of doctors to investigate the source of the virus. If they could identify the source, an antiviral serum could be developed. Although Pete initially refused due to his desire to stay with his family, he eventually agreed since there was no room for idle hands in this situation. If he wanted to be safe, he had to work for the government, or else he would be forced to leave the ship. Therefore, after bidding farewell to his family, Pete boarded a plane to Korea. However, as soon as they reached their destination in Korea, they were attacked by a large number of zombies, which panicked the young doctor who had never seen anything like it before. In his attempt to retreat to the cabin, he accidentally fired his gun and died on the spot. Despite the loss of the doctor, the mission had to continue. However, upon arriving at the lab, they discovered that everything had been destroyed in a fire. The captain informed Pete that the first infected person at the camp was a medic who had been sent to verify the cause of death of a soldier. Unfortunately, the soldier had mutated the virus, and the medic had become the first victim. The team managed to defeat the zombies and burn their bodies, but it was only a temporary solution. Unfortunately, all of the clues had been burned, and the captain didn't know how the soldier had become infected. However, a CIA intelligence officer who was in custody claimed to have information. He revealed that Israel had been sealed off before the virus outbreak, and if they wanted answers, they needed to go to the capital and find a man named Tom. With this new lead, Pete prepared to leave for Jerusalem, but before he could do so, his cell phone rang, alerting nearby zombies to their location. The resident soldiers quickly fired at the zombies to protect the team. However, the cost of this was the loss of all the resident troops. Following an overnight flight, the plane landed safely in Jerusalem. Pete instructed the pilot to wait for him to return before nightfall as he was acting as a UN investigator with the local troops. Tom informed Pete that Israel was constructing the wall early because they had intercepted information from Indian generals about their fight against the zombies. Despite their defenses, there was a sudden agitation among the zombies outside the wall, which turned out to be caused by the celebrations of the refugees inside the wall. The noise drew thousands of zombies to the wall, and they began building a human ladder to breach it. Pete was the first to notice that something was wrong, but it was too late as hordes of zombies started attacking the surviving humans. Everyone was running frantically, and helicopters were the only hope of escape. Despite the soldiers' efforts to stop the zombies, the sheer number of them made it impossible. They swept in like a wave and the soldiers' bullets were useless. Pete was escorted by soldiers to escape the scene and saw some strange phenomena on the way. The zombies didn't attack an old man and a skinny bald boy, but escaping was the priority, so Pete didn't think much about it. However, a female soldier who was covering him was accidentally bitten by a zombie, and in desperation, Pete cut off her arm with a knife. Surprisingly, the method was effective as the female soldier did not turn into a zombie after 12 seconds, but the helicopter that came to pick them up crashed due to the sudden turbulence caused by the severed arm. However, Pete noticed a passenger plane taking off nearby and soldiers forced the airliner to stop. Pete was then safely sent up on the airliner, looking down on the chaos below. As Pete was treating the wounded female soldier, he thought about the old man and the child who had not been attacked by the zombies and what the doctor had said. With a bold idea, he immediately used a satellite phone to call Eric and asked him to check the area nearby. He also instructed the captain to land at the nearest World Health Center. However, another accident occurred when a puppy found something on the plane, and a zombie suddenly appeared inside the toilet. The commotion woke up the sleeping passengers. They blocked the passage with a box and tried to keep quiet, but one of the boxes accidentally fell, attracting the attention of the zombies. The zombies swiftly breached the defensive line, turning the cabin into a scene of zombie debauchery. The situation was dire, but Pete acted quickly and without hesitation, grabbing a grenade and throwing it to create an opening in the plane through which the zombies were sucked out by the strong airflow, preparing for the worst as the plane went down. Miraculously, Pete survived with only an abdominal injury from a piece of flying metal. He and the female soldier helped each other as they pressed on until they reached a nearby WHO center where they were saved by the other survivors. Unfortunately, due to a loss of contact with the plane, the mission was considered a failure by the top commanders, resulting in the Pitt family being expelled from the ship and placed in a refugee camp. Exhausted from their ordeal, Pete eventually fell asleep. After 3 days and nights, Pete finally woke up and his first action was to contact Eric to let him know he was still alive. Learning that his family had been expelled from the ship made Pete angry, but Eric couldn't do anything about it since it was not in his control. Despite this setback, the mission must continue. Pete's goal was to find a deadly pathogen that could also be cured. He speculated that zombies may ignore some people because they already carry the virus, and that zombies require healthy human hosts. Therefore, if they injected pathogens into humans and made them appear as patients, perhaps they could avoid being attacked by zombies. They agreed to test this idea on zombies in the area, but a new problem arose. The pathogens were in Area B, which was occupied by at least a few dozen zombies. He geared up with his antibite gear, grabbed his weapon, and headed out with a female soldier and a researcher. They proceeded cautiously through a long corridor to reach Section B, knowing that zombies were highly sensitive to sound. Despite their efforts to remain quiet, the researcher accidentally bumped into a cabinet and alerted a walker. The female soldier took it out with a single shot, but the sound attracted more zombies, and they headed toward the warehouse where the pathogens were kept. It was only a matter of time before the walkers caught up with them. Pete stepped up again, intentionally making noise to lure the walkers away so the other two could retrieve the pathogen. While they went to the warehouse, Pete ran into a lab where the walkers couldn't follow. However, there were still some zombies behind, and the situation remained precarious for the female soldier and the researcher, especially with one zombie still on their tail. The female soldier and the researcher were also feeling pessimistic as they encountered a group of zombies blocking their path. They were forced to abandon the mission and retreat. Now, it was up to Pete to complete the task alone since the other two had lured the zombies away. He managed to reach the pathogen warehouse without any further issues, but due to the lack of communication with the others, he wasn't sure which pathogens to collect. Therefore, he decided to take a few bottles of each kind. Just as he was about to leave, a zombie appeared at the door, and with his weapon outside, Pete didn't know what to do. He had to take a risk and inject himself with one of the pathogens. As soon as he felt it was taking effect, he opened the warehouse door, and it seemed to be just as he had expected. Pete succeeded in avoiding the zombies using this technique, which impressed the crowd. He remained calm while drinking a can of Coke and then created a distraction to draw all the walkers in the hallway. Fortunately, he was injected with a curable pathogen towards the end of the movie and was able to reunite with his family. The World Health Organization produced a vaccine and distributed it globally, but the virus's origin remained unknown, so humanity still had to combat the crisis. Thanks for watching, guys. Give the video a like and subscribe to our channel if you loved the video. This really means a lot to the team, and would help reach out to our loved ones. Have a blessed day. Thank you.